good morning. I think good afternoon, actually. I'm jet-lagged, I'm not sure. My name is Shimiljash Braha. I'm here from Addis Ababa. I'm working with Life and Peace Institute, which is a peace-building organization that works in the Horn of Africa, and I work with the Horn of Africa Regional Program. So for the last 2.5 years, we've been implementing a project with our 3 partners here called Act, Change, Transform in Kenya, the Eastern African Sub-Regional Support Initiative for the Advancement of Women in Uganda, and IAG Inter-Africa Group, who's also based in Ethiopia. So we've been working the last couple of years on this project called Engaging Civil Society Engagement to Transform the Borderlands of Africa, where we have been trying to produce tools and capacitate or enhance the capacity of civil society organizations that work at the local level at the borderlands, who have cross-border dimensions already within their work, to really build up their capacity to advocate not only at the local level, but also at their national levels, and most importantly at the regional economic communities and African Union levels, so kind of skipping over other levels of engagement, or not skipping, but also enhancing other levels of engagement, so for multi-level engagement. So one of the tools that we've produced to try and enhance this advocacy is a GIS map of Busia, borderland between Kenya and Uganda, to try and really use this tool for advocacy purposes to show that we're not just looking at violence, right, within the borderlands. We're not just looking at issues in the borderlands, but really trying to say there's a lot of richness in these areas, a lot of collaboration that's also happening. So let's support the collaboration and the everyday peace that's going on. Let's try to depict that with this map that we're producing. So the process that we came up with was highly guided by the communities we work with, specifically 10 borderland organizations in Busia who are already working cross-border, have a fantastic lived experience. They know the area, they know the work really well, and they're the ones who guided both the mechanisms for mapping. They're the ones who collected the data with mobile phones, and we really depended on them to build buy-in within the community. So it's really this community-led process to produce this mapping. Though maybe the technology didn't come, organically, the knowledge is really captured by these community organizations. Okay, so we started to do this mapping really based on using facilities, so kind of these shared facilities and resources along this border area. So we tried to focus on those facilities and really trying to understand the dynamics of how residents from both sides of the border are sharing these specific facilities, right? So we captured some of these dynamics through questionnaires as well as through qualitative data. So we see, for instance, we have market facilities that are really important to this area, especially since this is a very market-focused kind of locality, right? There's lots of commerce going across these two countries and across this border. So we see here some of the market facilities that came up in our mapping. We see some fabulous photos that were taken by the specific data collectors who mapped this area. And we really see some of the dynamics that are coming out of the mapping, which are that from the Uganda side, people from both Kenya and Uganda are mostly purchasing agricultural goods, these arrowroots and corn, maize, these kind of agricultural products that are staple foods on both sides of the border. So those are the kinds of things that are being purchased on the Uganda side. From the Kenya side, what's being purchased and what's the real economic driver are more finished goods, manufactured goods. So those are the things that Ugandans are going over to Kenya to purchase and come back. So these are really important dynamics for the residents of these communities. We see here as well, educational facilities are shared across both borders. Most of the time, Ugandans will send primary school students over to Kenya for education at the primary level, and then Kenyans will send their secondary level students, university students over to the Uganda side based on the perception of quality on each side of these educational institutions, which is really, really interesting. So these are both opportunities and areas of cooperation that are happening peacefully every day. So really interesting findings. Also, in terms of health facilities, there's quite a bit of difference in the way people perceive the level of healthcare. For instance, on the Uganda side, people see the healthcare as being a lot less expensive than on the Kenya side. And on the Kenya side, people are seeing that they find drugs much easier and they feel they're of higher quality. But people make those decisions on an everyday basis of how to access healthcare, right? So this is a really important dynamic as well. Social spaces, for instance, soccer fields, playgrounds, these sorts of social spaces are every day. You'll see people out here playing football, having these social interactions. So the purpose of now all of these few findings that we're seeing, also religious institutions, these sort of things, we're doing our best to now take this data that we've collected and this understanding of the dynamics of the residents on both sides of the border and really use that to advocate on behalf of borderlanders, right? To take them to those spaces, to the African Union, to say, this is a tool that we've developed to help our understanding of what the borderlands are actually like. Yes, there's conflict. Yes, we've mapped conflict in various ways, but we've also mapped the peace. So how do we help this collaboration continue? How do we help this collaboration to expand? And so we're supporting these are some of our traders also, some of our civil society members who are also going now to the African Union to use this tool. So we're hoping to really find new ways of presenting these sorts of tools, really documenting what are the best ways to share these sorts of new tools that are really new to especially actors in that region, and how best to share this with them, how best to use this as an emotive tool for their understanding, and to really incorporate human stories into our advocacy. And so we were talking a lot about how borderlands are really areas of richness, right? And we think of them as peripheries, but really they're really rich with very different types of dynamics that are going on, and they're not as similar to the center. So we're really hoping that tools like these will really capture that richness, and it's not just about violence, it's not just about strife, but it's really about the people that are there every day who are making these decisions on the borders, and we're hoping to really bring that to policymakers with this work. So thank you for listening.